Okay, so the Eagles clearly got a massive steal when they signed Zack Baun this past offseason, as he's quickly become one of the best linebackers in football, and that has left the Birds with a crucial decision. And they potentially just got a big update regarding that, which is pretty revealing. Meanwhile, Jalen Carter has put the NFL on notice, as his absolutely dominant performance versus the Commanders is proof that it's nearly impossible for opposing offenses to slow down the Breadman, and he just keeps getting better. Plus, Jalen Hurts was recently the victim of some more unwarranted criticism, so why is the media's latest attack on QB1 a bunch of garbage? And also, why do these often criticized Eagles deserve some credit? We're going to talk about that and all the other latest Eagles news starting right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Philly Fan 21 channel. If you're new, I'm Evan and I cover all things Philadelphia Eagles. And man, does it feel good to be a Birds fan right now, especially after how the season started off. I mean, think about it. Through the first 4 weeks of the season, fans were kind of starting to worry about this team, but ever since that bye week, man, the Eagles have just really found a way to turn it around, as after a 6-game win streak, they nested at first place in the NFC East with a 1.5 game lead over Washington after the win on Thursday, and they still got a decent shot of getting the 1 seed in the NFC, as they sit just 1 game behind the Lions, who, honestly, they kind of look like the best team in football right now, but there's still 7 games to go, and a lot could happen in that time. And again, the Eagles really just look completely different on both sides of the ball since the bye, and defensively is possibly where they have been the most impressive, as they clearly look like the best unit in the league under vet defensive coordinator Vic Fangio, and multiple guys are having phenomenal seasons. And while there's a ton of players that I could list off, I do want to focus on one guy who I didn't give as much love to in my last video, but he's coming off one of the best games of his career, and that's defensive tackle Jalen Carter. I mean, the guy was dominant on Thursday against Washington's offensive line, and he created havoc at the line of scrimmage all night long. And when I say that, I mean he was literally out there on every single defensive snap of the game, which is just unreal for a defensive tackle, and it's also a huge credit to how hard he's worked just to be able to handle that increased workload and so far not fall off like he did last year. And in this game specifically, I mean, like I said, Carter was just a beast, and he made an impact both against the run and the pass. And a breakdown from Brian Baldinger shows just how dominant Carter really was in this game.
It took all of 5 plays for Jalen Carter in this game to beat this choke block right here, and to hit Jaden Daniels like he's an anvil. Like, this guy's ability to escape. Like, he could escape from Alcatraz. Like, he doesn't stay blocked. He wins so easily. Like, he's like that. Every quarterback feels that. It's like a gust of wind coming right at you. The guy played every single snap last night. This is gut. Like, Wiley's blocking down on him. He beats a down block and down goes Robinson. You can't run to him. And you can't run away from him. He's just playing ball on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Look at everybody else and look where Carter is. Like, he's backed up to tackle 3 yards to make that tackle. You can't choke block him. Be honest, he's going to choke block him. He's going to try. It's just like a car crash on the Schuylkill. He just creates it. Like, it just bubbles everybody, and Jordan finishes up for him. Like right here on 4th and 2. This is the big play in the game. He's just going to bubble the guard right here. Like, he just... Like, Biotis is trying to get out, he just bubbles him, and down goes, well, he just flattened Jaden Daniels, and Zack Baun just cleans it up. No sacks, but he was awfully close. Coming right down the gun barrel at Jaden Daniels. Like, Jalen Carter, I mean, he doesn't make every play, but he sure makes it hard to make a play.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that Philly got a really good one in the Breadman. I mean, you saw the tape there. Carter truly was dominant and just a disruptive force at the line of scrimmage, and in this game, he had a career high in tackles with 7, and he's only going to continue to get better. And it's just awesome that the Eagles are going to have a guy like that on their defensive line for many years to come, and he's just one of many young rising stars on the Eagles defense that are going to be together for a long time. So it certainly seems like the Birds do have a bright future on defense. But I also do want to take a moment to appreciate a veteran that has gotten a lot of criticism recently from Eagles fans mainly, and that's Darius Slay. As if you remember back to just before the bye week, Slay was getting a ton of heat for some comments that he made on social media and also on a podcast with Micah Parsons, which, don't get me wrong, I definitely was not a huge fan of those either, but I also did feel like some fans were overblowing the whole situation, and I also definitely think when it comes to Slay's play on the field, the fans were going way too far with their criticism, and I said that numerous times. And not to brag or anything, but at least as of recently, Slay has been proving me right. As in his past 5 games, he's been targeted 16 times and has allowed just 6 catches for 83 yards and no touchdowns, plus he's had 5 pass breakups and allowed just a 54.9 passer rating. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to argue with the numbers. Like, Slay's been locked down since the bye week, and that's also while he's been a little bit banged up. And while the rookies have been the ones getting all the shine, which, don't get me wrong, is very much warranted because they've been unbelievable, Slay definitely also deserves some credit too, especially after all the criticism that he was getting. And speaking of criticism, somebody who continues to get unwarranted criticism is quarterback Jalen Hurts. As you know, despite the Eagles being on a 6-game winning streak and then beating the Commanders while Hurts put up over 260 total yards, it seems that everybody just always has something to say or has some sort of critique of Jalen Hurts. And this week, it was former NFL quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick who started the discourse, as he said this immediately after the game.
Let's talk about Jalen Hurts tonight, because they won. His stats look okay. He's been playing great statistically, looks good, passer rating. I walk out of this game with not a ton of confidence there in the way that he's playing right now. Or even with A.J. Brown, it just felt like there was a disconnect there tonight. There was some frustration with A.J. We didn't get the ball to Devontae a lot. To me, it seems like if there's a team that gets out and scores, that's going to rear its ugly head at some point. Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it honestly just feels to me like some people try to go out of their way to criticize Hurts sometimes. I mean, Jared Goff just threw 5 interceptions the other week, Patrick Mahomes is clearly not playing up to the level that we're used to seeing from him, and Lamar Jackson even just had a clear down game this past week against the Steelers, yet nobody seems to care about that, and everyone wants to zero in on a performance from Jalen Hurts where, sure, he didn't play his best football, there's no denying that, but he honestly just did what he needed to do. Like, he didn't play a bad game, he had several nice plays that moved the chains, he didn't turn the ball over, and he found a way to come away with a win on a short week against a good football team, despite possibly feeling the effects of a head injury after smacking his head on the ground several times. And after the game, Hurts also had some fun trolling Washington fan Scott Van Pelt.
Hey Scott, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? You're a DMV guy, huh?
I mean, is this what we're gonna do? Is this really what we're gonna do? I mean, I'm okay. Hey, we'll see. Hey, we'll see you down here in a little bit. That's okay. No, I'm okay. Listen, no joke.
I was just asking,
man. No joke. You guys, everyone knows what you are. They're trying to build down here, but you know, we look forward to seeing you in our neighborhood.
You definitely gotta love Hurts having some fun there. And overall, again, I just think the criticism of Hurts' performance is way overblown. It's honestly just insane to me how hypercritical people are of Jalen Hurts. And of course, I am not worried about him at all moving forward. And staying with guys who have been criticized recently, I do actually want to take a moment to give some credit to Nick Sirianni. And yes, I know not all Eagles fans are going to want to do that, but I think it's only fair that after all the criticism that he's been getting, that he also gets some credit where credit is due. And the guys on the Pat McAfee show, and specifically Ty Schmidt, had a pretty funny way of doing that.
Speaking of culture, Coach Sirianni has a question for you, Coach.
Yeah, Coach, first and foremost, just want to say unbelievable victory last night. You know, I mean, let these people keep doubting them. Let these people keep doubting us, okay? And listen, I'm going to say this so that you don't have to say it because, listen, I understand the forward-facing side. You got to be a professional. You got to do all of that. It's bull, okay? Every single morning I come in the facility, I turn the TV on. What do I see? Hey, the Eagles stink. Their head coach is a big dumb dip. He leaves all these points on the board. Hey, the Eagles, they may be 8-2, but, you know, are they going to win a playoff game? Coach is going to end up ruining something. You know, Dan Orlovsky, God bless his soul, he says he's a Philly guy. He says, hey, I don't trust the Eagles in the playoffs because Nick Sirianni is going to cost him a game. Now, listen, Coach, our record as head coach, 42-19, second best winning percentage of any active head coach in the NFL. I don't want to take another shot at Dan Orlovsky, but you know what his record was in the NFL, Coach? It was 3-23. So over the last 30 years, only 5 coaches have started 8-2 in 3 consecutive years. Okay, you got Sean Payton, Bill Belichick, Tony Dungy, Mike Shanahan, and guess who the 5th one is?
Who?
Me. Coach Sirianni, okay? You got 4 Hall of Famers, and I don't know, I guess that just makes me chop liver every morning on ESPN. Win week in, week out, week in, week out, week in, week out. Hey, the Eagles didn't score 50 points this week, so their coach must be a moron. Let's fire the guy. Are you ever thinking, like, wait a minute, are we 2-8 or are we 8-2? I seem to forgot.
First off, I've always thought that Ty Schmidt's Sirianni impersonation is just hilarious. But I also think he does make a fair point, in that the Eagles are sitting here at 8-2 or better for the 3rd straight year, and the only other 4 coaches to do that are Hall of Famers, so he should get some credit for that. Plus, something else that they were talking about there that I didn't show is just the culture that Sirianni has built within the Eagles locker room. I mean, the players have clearly bought into what Nick is selling. They've also just connected well in the locker room with each other. They hold each other accountable, and they also have each other's backs. And we saw that the other night in multiple ways. Plus, when it comes to Sirianni and him getting criticism, they always have his back and defend him as well. and that includes Eagles legend Fletcher Cox, who just said this about his former head coach on Up and Adams.
Nick is, let's look at Nick's history. What he got, playoffs, Super Bowl, playoffs. I mean, all he does is win, right? He find a way. And, with a coach like that, that can rally up a team of men and do what he's doing every year in and year out. Even with swapping coordinators the last 2 years, the way that things been going, they're still finding ways to win. And I think, this team could get scary in the next few weeks. Yeah. I know he's taking these guys one game at a time and, one team at a time. But I got nothing but respect for Nick, since day one.
41-19 in his career. Nick Sirianni. You're hearing a legend, Eagles fans, Fletcher Cox, saying he's nothing but respect for him, loves him.
Comments like that from an Eagles legend like Fletch I think definitely do hold some weight. And I do also definitely think that Nick deserves credit for his success just winning games, and also for building this culture that seems to be one of the best in the NFL right now. Now, does that excuse the dumb decisions that he makes sometimes? No, and the criticism for that is 100% justified, but all I'm saying is we at least gotta give him credit where he deserves it. And somebody else who deserves a tremendous amount of credit is linebacker Zack Baun, as he's had a year to remember in his first season in Philly while becoming an absolute star at the linebacker position, and it's expected to result in a big payday and an extension for the former Saint. And we just got an update on what a possible extension could look like. But before we get into that, I do want to say, if you are enjoying this video and you don't want to miss any other Eagles coverage or content just like this coming throughout the rest of this entire season, then make sure you guys subscribe, and also really importantly, turn on notifications so you're notified instantly when one of these videos is uploaded. Trust me, you guys are not going to want to miss any of the Eagles coverage or content I got coming on this channel throughout the rest of the year. I cover the birds pretty much daily here, so if you do want to stay up to date on all the latest Eagles news, this is the spot. So again, subscribe and turn on notifications. It takes 2 seconds, and also drop a like. Let's see if we can get to 700 likes today. And now, with all that being said, let's get back into the video. So as I was saying, Zack Baun is just having an absolutely incredible year in his first season in Philly. Currently, he has 102 total tackles, which is second in the NFL, and 64 solo tackles, which is first. Plus, he also has 2 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and an interception. And he's coming off his second game of the year where he's had 15 tackles, which is just so insane. And a film breakdown from Brian Baldinger shows you just how insane it really is.
Watching Zack Baun play football, it's just kind of amazing the awareness that he has. This is a third down play right here. Right now in coverage, he's going to take a snapshot right there of Luke McCaffrey along with Noah Brown. Now his eyes go to Jaden Daniels. And right here on this third down, he lays out right in front of Brown. Maybe he had a pick, maybe right there, but still breaks it up, forces a punt. All right, now you watch him coming off the edge. This is the drag slide concept right here. They're going to drag the receiver across the formation. Now he's got a decision to make. All right, he's got the receiver in coverage. Give him a shove and go make the tackle on Jaden Daniels. And then the 2 biggest plays of the game. Here it is, 3rd and 1, fourth quarter, 8 minutes to go in the game, 12-10. Here comes Brian Robinson off the edge. All right, no gain. Sets up a 4th and 2, and here's the play. 4th and 2, this is the ball game right here. All right, they're going to pin and pull. Here comes Biotish coming out, blocking him on the edge. But his eyes are up, and he plays the game with technique, just the way they taught him at Wisconsin. And here he comes making this play on Brian Robinson and turns him completely sideways. You know, Zack Baun has more tackles in 10 games with the Eagles than he had in 4 years combined with the New Orleans Saints. Credit Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman for figuring out how to use that player.
It's safe to say that Howie Roseman hit an absolute home run with the signing of Zack Baun on a cheap 1-year deal. And Vic Fangio also deserves all the credit in the world for seeing Baun's potential and turning him into a bona fide star. And with him playing at the level that he's been playing at, a pay raise and a big contract are surely in his future, and the hope for Eagles fans is that that can be in Philly. And recently, NFL analyst Marcus Mosher gave us some speculation as to what a possible deal could look like, as in a recent article for 33rd Team, he wrote, quote, projected AAV $10 million per year. It's not too often that off-ball linebackers have breakout seasons at 28, but that's the case for Zack Baun with the Philadelphia Eagles. But what type of contract can we expect Baun to get? The higher end deal would be $13.5 million in average annual value, which is what Patrick Queen received this offseason from the Steelers. However, Queen was a much younger player at 24 with first round draft capital. Instead, look for a deal similar to what Bobby Okereke received from the Giants, which came in at $10 million AAV. That might still be on the high side for Baun, but he signed a 1-year deal worth only $3.5 million in March. If Baun continues to post huge numbers in Fangio's defense, it wouldn't be a shock to see him reach reach $10 million per season on the open market. And obviously, this is just a projection, but Mosher is an NFL analyst, so he might have a better feel for what a contract extension could look like than your average fan. And if $10 million a year is close to accurate for a Baun extension, then I honestly think that that is some great value, and the Eagles absolutely 100% need to do it, because Baun has clearly elevated this defense, and he's been one of their best players on either side of the ball all season long. So hopefully the Eagles can find a way to pull this off and get an extension done in the offseason for a good price, possibly $10 million, like Mosher said. But obviously, right now, all the Eagles' focus should be on this game this week versus the LA Rams, who just won yesterday. And again, you guys already know that I'm going to be covering everything leading up to that. So again, if you don't want to miss any of the latest news, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications. And also, again, while you're at it, make sure you drop a like to show some support if you did enjoy this video. It really does help me out a ton. Again, let's see if we can get to 700 likes today. And also, if you want to show support in a different way, make sure you leave a comment just regarding anything that I talked about in this video, because that also really does help me out a ton. And if you want to watch another Eagles video going over the Eagles win over the Commanders, you can check this out right here. And now with all that being said, that's pretty much all I got for this one, guys. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.